Okay, good evening, everyone. This is Sachin Karnik here from Angel Wing LLC. Today is the 10th of April, 2024. We are continuing on Wednesday evenings with our various programs. And because Dr. Berman is off this time, I'm going to just do a two-part series here on the mystery of life. So I'll be speaking for about next 20, 25 minutes or so, and then we'll open it up for questions and for comments and exploration and dialogue and whatnot. This is a very fundamental question. When we examine where did we come from, where are we in our life right now, where are we headed, there are many lifelong questions, age-old questions that have always been part of the human condition. And there's all kinds of theories, all kinds of ideas behind this. So one basic question is about the origin of life. The exact process by which life first arose on Earth. Where did it come from? Lots of theories are there. Is it created by some great infinite power, or is it just some natural process, or is it more Darwinian evolution? Things like that. Creationism, teleological arguments, intelligent design theories are there. So many ideas are there about where life may have originated from. Where did it come from? And also the basic question, like the distinction between life versus not life. What is living versus not living? If you study the biological sciences, there is, this question about virus particles, right? Are they living or non-living? They have only RNA, and they could sit around for hundreds of years and be inactive, and they enter into a living cell, and now they become active. They insert their RNA, and hundreds of thousands of virus particles come out of that. Is that a life form? How do we define what is life? Where's that demarcation, between life and non-life? It's a very interesting question, because what we consider to be life mostly has carbon atoms. It's the carbon-based life form, and then it raises another deeper question of consciousness. That when we have the sense that I'm alive, but the rock is not alive, or a tree is, or a mountain doesn't seem to be alive. It's inanimate. But why the difference? What is the difference actually? Are we just another form of matter that has the illusion of consciousness? Now you'll see how tenuous this becomes. These subjects are discussed deeply in philosophy of mind. They are discussed in many different places. But I want to go through it step by step. Otherwise, it'll get tangled up very quickly. So I want to go real slow with it, because these are very tough things to talk about. First of all, let's look at our experience. Just our experience is that we have a sense of me, identity, sense of living. We are breathing in, breathing out. We have a sense of life, that I'm alive. When there is sleep at nighttime, we're still alive. But then there's a demarcation that when the brain is no longer functioning, heart is no longer functioning, there's a biological ending, a biological death. And then we say now the life is gone. So what is it that's gone? Is it some spiritual soul that is gone? Is it some mind that is no longer present? Is it just the ending of chemical reactions? Is what we consider to be life only a series of biochemical, neurochemical, highly intricate reactions? Is that what it is? You see, so this is a very tenuous subject, because every living being, in one sense, is a biochemical reaction. That's what it is. But is that all it is? And that's the question of consciousness. The question of consciousness is awareness, being aware, being able to think and feel. It's called qualia. So if you're taking notes, or if you will take notes later on, I'll give you some terms that are technically used in psychology and philosophy and some other related areas in neurology. Qualia, Qualia. This is the question of first-person direct experience. How can I have the experience of the color red, I experience it. What is that? Now, there's an area in philosophy of mind called phenomenology. Phenomenology is the study of experience. And it's a very systematic, detailed study with many, many complex and intricate theories. But it boils down to my experience and then my analysis of it, my understanding of it, my ability to be with the experiences without my own biases or without some kind of distortion. It's really like a meditative, reflective state that is called phenomenology. There's another viewpoint, which is the more materialistic viewpoint. It's called physicalism. It is very interesting that only matter exists. This is called physicalism. It's called emergence theory. Also, one of the big and very popular, not in the general public probably, but he's become more popular. That is Daniel Dennett. He's written books on consciousness explained, and he's a hard materialist. What that means is that the theory is that there is only matter that is organizing itself, and the mind is an emergent phenomena from the physical matter only. That there's really nothing like separate thing that is mind. So if you go back to Descartes, I think therefore I am, cogito ergo sum. If you go back to Descartes, what do we find? He talked about dualism there, that there's the mind and the brain are two different substances. The mind substance is something different from the brain itself. And they are interlinked, no doubt. And that's a very difficult question, how they're interlinked, where they're interlinked, if they are different. So there are three basic theories. That there's only mind, that's theory number one, that's idealism. Theory number two is that there's mind and brain are both existing, that is Cartesian dualism. And theory number three is that there's only physicalism, material, substance only, nothing else. But it's been organized in such a way, just randomly or however it may be organized, and then it gives rise to experience, which nobody knows how to explain. How do you explain the color red? You can do a brain dissection and look at the brain and look at the synapses and the electrochemical transmission as well as neurochemical transmission. We can look at all of that. But that doesn't give us the experience of the color red. I have this experience of the different colors, of different sounds, different tastes. Where does the experience come from? Is the brain fabricating this, what we call the experience? There are groups of philosophers and neuroscientists particularly who say, yes, that this is just the brain that is generating this. That's all. That's what they say. But they don't know how exactly. Now, if you look at some of the evidence, you can go into this in more detail. But this is the mystery of life. We know that if there is change in neurotransmitter levels in the brain, the experience changes. What's a prime example of that? Anesthesia. When somebody is put under anesthesia, their experience changes. They wind up in some dream, or they are cut off from the operation that is going on. They don't experience their usual consciousness. But it's also interesting to note that even the anesthesiologists and the researchers don't exactly know how anesthesia works. It's a fascinating question. They don't really know. Even certain medications like gabapentin, which is used for neuropathy and nerve pain and anxiety and all that, it calms everything down. They don't really know how it works. They're trying to figure it out, and it's an approved drug. But why does it work the way it does? They try to find the mechanisms of action neurochemically. It's very interesting. So is there a neurochemical part to all of this? Of course there is. Obviously. But is that all there is to it? And this is the bigger question of where did I come from? Who am I? There's about like 5 or 6, 5 to 10 really basic questions. Who am I? Where did I come from? What is the purpose of my life? What is the difference between me and everything else? Is my experience the same as others? How should I live my life? These are the basic questions. There's more formal language for that in philosophy, ontology, epistemology, axiology, like there's different words for that. But these are the basic questions. There's a great mystery, because when we begin to ask these questions, that means we're using reason, we're using rationality, we're using our mind to think and to contemplate and to systematically analyze and to try to categorize and to experiment and all. Where does that come from? It comes from our rationality, our ability to think, our ability to probe, our ability to reflect, to inquire, to study. That ability is also a higher cognitive function. Now this goes back to neuroscience a bit. The prefrontal cortex, the cortex in general, and the prefrontal cortex. What is that? That's where the higher cognitive functions exist in the brain. And so the whole brain is one phenomena, one process. But we know that people who have brain damage, or they have traumas of different kinds, even psychological traumas, it impacts their experience, impacts mood and emotion, and our entire experience of the body in our inner space is based on the brain. If the brain is damaged, our experience is damaged, it's changed. People even go through very serious personality changes after certain types of surgeries or operations. And then there's the very famous incident of Phineas Gage that is written in the beginning of every cognitive psychology book. It was a rod that went right through his brain, and then he survived somehow, and then his entire personality was changed because of that. Does that mean that our identity of who we are, who we think we are, who we feel we are, is really just a fabrication of the brain? Notice the word fabrication. Fabrication means artificially created. Now these subjects, I have not discussed these that much in this much detail. I'm just beginning to talk about it right now. We have not gone into angel wing programs that much into philosophy, but you'll see how interesting this is. Is the brain fabricating personality and first person experience? The analogy that is used is between the hardware and the software of a computer. The hardware is what's active in my computer right now. The software is a Zoom program and other programs are running there. So but the software is in the hardware. That's the impression. That's the program around through which, or it's based on the commands in that program. The hardware is functioning that way. It's only the hardware that's really functioning, which is creating this image that I'm seeing right now on the screen. If the hardware doesn't function properly, you don't see any image, don't see anything. This is the kind of analogy that the physicalists give. They give this type of an analogy that the brain is the hardware, and it is creating, just like a computer, it's creating the mind and our experience. So this is what Daniel Dennett and a bunch of other physicalists from antiquity are saying, that there's only the physical process. There's nothing like mind or soul or God or any of those things, or what is that called? The near-death experience. This is all brain phenomena. That's what they say. That we have created God and we have created soul and we have created everything ourselves, fabricated. It's all fake, basically. This is what the physicalists would say. Atheists would say this also. There's a bunch of books written. The God Delusion, that's a particular book. This is scary stuff sometimes when you have faith and belief and all that. And if you go through all that thing, you might be convinced that, my God, what they're saying, that has to be like that. You see? It's very interesting. And there's all kinds of philosophical viewpoints on this. Now, the other perspectives are that, no, it's not that the brain is creating the mind and all these imaginative things. It's actually the existence of pure energy that is solidifying in different ways. Now, this is another perspective altogether. This perspective is called there's a technical term for it. It's called Kashmiri Shaivism, but don't worry about that. It just basically means that there's one infinite energy that is taking so many different forms. It's like if you have an ocean, it can take many forms as icebergs. So many different icebergs. Icebergs are nothing but the water only. Similarly, there's only one infinite energy that is taking many, 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 many different forms. But why it is taking those forms, how it is taking them, we have some understanding, but it's very difficult to know what that is exactly. What is energy? I mean, we know that there's energy. The sun has energy, and our light bulb has energy, and electricity is energy. But what is that? There's energy in the brain and in the spinal cord, and all the molecules have energy. So from an energy point of view, everything is energy only. Whether it is inanimate or animate or brain, mind, whatever it might be. Then if that's the case, then it is energy itself that has taken so many different forms. But then why do we see everything designed? Everything has a form and a shape in this world that we are seeing. Even our body does. So then this goes back to arguments of design. It's called argument from design, teleological argument for the existence of God. What does that mean? Teleological argument doesn't mean that you're arguing with somebody, that's not what this word argument means. There's a series of logical assertions that are made to come to a conclusion in philosophy. That's what's called an argument. So it's not like arguing with somebody and fighting with them. That's not what that word means there. So teleological argument is the argument from design, what is now called intelligent design, which states that no, this is not just random coming together of molecules and atoms and subatomic particles and whatnot. There is actually an intelligence, great, powerful intelligence that is at work, that is the creator of all that exists. So there's the creation and there's the creator. This is called the teleological argument from design, for the existence of God in philosophy of religion. So in philosophy of religion, the teleological argument is as follows: that because we can see all kinds of names and forms around us, by inference, we can state that there has to be a first cause. For example, if I'm holding a pen or a stylus, like I have it in my hand right now, a little green, maybe you can see it. I don't know if you can see it on this camera, I'm not sure. It's a green stylus. You can see it I'm holding in my hand. Now I'm seeing it right now in my hand. But I do not see in the present right now the person or the group of people that thought of this, created it, designed it. I don't see them. I don't know who they are. I could probably do some research and find out where the stylus came from and who created it. I don't even know, actually. It never even occurred to me to look that up. It's easy to find. Just put it in Google, you'll find it. But right now, in my experience, I don't see those people that created this thing, or even the company that manufactured it, or any of that. I just ordered it on Amazon and I got 10 styluses for $10 or something. That's all. That's the extent of my knowledge about it. I know how to use it. But obviously, by inference, somebody designed this. Somebody thought of this. Some people thought about it. Maybe it's one person or 5 people or 10 people. And then they tried it and experimented with it. And then they designed it. And then they colored it. And so much thought and energy and effort. Somebody's mind went into that. Isn't it so? Similarly, this entire creation we see, everything, this entire world of names and forms, it has to have some source. The galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, the Andromeda galaxy, at the cosmic level, billions of galaxies, galaxy clusters, things that the Webb telescope has found out. And then at the microscopic level, all kinds of microscopic life forms and organisms. And then you've got the the atoms and molecules. Then you've got the subatomic particles. There's so many of them. They keep discovering new ones. The Higgs boson and so many, trying to find out what, they keep going deeper and deeper. From the subatomic to the macrocosmic, there is extraordinary diversity. And one would infer that there has to be a cause of all causes that doesn't have a cause. Otherwise, you wind up in philosophy something called an infinite regress. So if you're taking notes, you can write this down. This is very interesting. If I say that, well, God created everything, some great being created everything, well, who created that? And then who created that? They just, It's called infinite regress. It's the problem of infinite regress. So that's a philosophical problem, and that is a trap. If you get into a trap mentally that way of an infinite regress, then you're just stuck there. I mean, it's like saying, what's the smallest number you can think of? I mean, there isn't. You can say 0.001, 0.00000. Keep adding the zeros and put a 1 at the end. And there's no end to that. There's no smallest number. It could be there. It's infinite. I mean, any number anybody can think of. You can think of, just add one more zero, and it's smaller than that. So then that is the question of infinity. Even in mathematics and in logic, this is a very tenuous subject. What is infinity? Now, see, this is what's interesting about this. Now, watch this. How interesting. If I'm standing 100 feet from a wall, let's just look at it this way. I'm standing 100 feet from a wall. And then I go and walk and touch the wall. But the fact of the matter is that as I'm getting closer and closer, I can potentially, I mean, if you think of it this way, I'm a meter away, then I'm half a meter away. If I just keep cutting it in half, if I just keep cutting the distance in half, I never reach the wall. This is one of Zeno's paradoxes. Now, how is it that I actually reach the wall when mathematically I'm not reaching the wall? How is that? You see, nobody knows an answer to this question. Mathematically, you can never really reach an endpoint. I mean, if I'm 100 feet away, then I can cut that. I move halfway. I'm 50 feet, then I move halfway. 25 feet, then I move, and you keep moving half. You keep getting closer and closer and closer. You never touch the wall. How do you explain that? How can that be? Mathematically, logically, you should never be able to touch that wall. But we do. That means we are, I mean, this is my interpretation, and you can think about it in your way, but that means that we are experiencing the finite on the backdrop of infinity. That infinity is all around. Mathematics, this example I just showed you, kind of logically shows that. But we cannot see what is infinite. We have some notion of it. We have glimpses of it. So this is where then you move into things like meditation and mysticism. Because we try to find out the answer, who am I? I mean, we can try to open the brain and do the dissections and learn the brain physiology. Yes, that's okay. But that doesn't answer the question, who am I in my own reflective, subjective, first-person phenomenological experience. The dissection of the brain cannot answer that question. So then that leads me to an internal journey. Like, who am I? And this is one of the big mysteries of life. What am I? Who am I? Multiple ways to answer the question. We can do a bodily dissection. If you go to medical school, you have to dissect the body, memorize the whole body. Yes. If you go to we can get a PhD in psychology or sociology or all those fields, you wind up studying the mind and human interaction. Yes. All kinds of science is there and all kinds of experiences there. But the question about who am I? This question is an intellectual question. We have the ability to question. But when we ask this question, how do we find the answer to, is it who am I or what am I? And this is where meditation and prayer and belief in God and those, all of that comes into the picture. Because as we were saying, the teleological argument for the existence of God, if there is a creation, there has to be a creator, a source. But we don't know what that source is. How do we get in touch with that source? Now, there's many theories and there's many traditions in terms of religion that try to answer this question. That source, that divinity, that transcendent God manifests as Jesus, manifests as the prophets, manifests as Muhammad, or manifests as this or that, or whatever the theories are, whatever the ideas, that goes into the whole religious domain. In the Eastern traditions like India, you have the concept of incarnations, that the divine, that which is beyond, that which is transcendent, beyond the material worlds, that divinity incarnates in human form. Things like that are there. Then there are all kinds of theories are there, all kinds of perspectives. That there's one supreme consciousness that manifests, is dreaming as the many. That is non-dualism, Advaita. You see, so I don't want to mix this up too much, otherwise it'll become a hodgepodge. So we have to really go carefully with this, because it is a very tenuous thing to examine philosophically, intellectually, analytically. If we stay with just one question, we could spend years on that. And if we go through all the different philosophers and their perspectives just on one question, the one question is, what is the cause of all causes, cause-effect relationship? We can just stay with that. Let's talk about that for a few minutes just to see, you'll see how interesting it is. Everything we see is the effect. There is some cause to it all. For example, if you have 50 books in your closet, there are so many previous causes. Previous whole chain is there, chain reaction, cause-effect relationship. Some researchers wrote these books and published them, and research. So many people are involved in that, and then we get this book in my hand. Okay, it's called cause-effect relationship. But is there some reality, something, some consciousness that is beyond the realm of time, where there is no cause-effect relationship? The causeless, that which is untainted by cause, by time, that which is eternal, that which is not part of the material world, something that is transcendental. Is there such a thing? How do we know? How would we touch that even? How would we examine that? How can we reach that? You see, so intellectually, philosophically, people like Plato, philosophers like Plato, he talked about the forms. That, for example, if you take a circle, he says that there's an ideal circle in a different world, not this world. This is you can never make a perfect circle in this material world. And that's true. You cannot make a perfect circle. But where does the idea come from? The world of ideas that has its origin in some other place. This is called Plato's theory of forms. And then the allegory of the cave also. I'm just giving just a little snapshot here, but these are very profound subjects. They're profound because they challenge us to use our intellectual ability to probe into the mysteries of life. And these kinds of questions are there. Philosophy or philosophical reflection, the benefit of it is that it will make your mind strong. But whatever positions anybody may take, always keep an open mind. Try to understand all different perspectives, because there's this is my perspective at least. Now, I'm just sharing with you that there's some truth in every perspective. Maybe they are touching on some truths, maybe not the whole truth, but some truth from their particular lens, even though they may seem to be contradictory, but they are all touching on some greater reality, some piece of some greater reality. It could be that. Some people may not agree with that, and that's fine too. So the experiences of our life, they are a great mystery. And now, if we break this down now in another way, look at now I'm going to examine this from our first person qualia experience. Okay, and this is the subjective experience. So this is my experience in the waking state. I'm awake right now. The waking world. The waking world seems to be common for all of us. But the dream world is not common for all of us. It's different. When we wake up, we all wake up apparently in the same world. Like we're awake right now. It's the same time everywhere throughout the world. 7:29 p.m. April 10th, 2024. But in the dream world, it's not like that. Everybody's dreams are their own. So this, while we're awake, now you'll see how crazy this becomes. This world that we're seeing while we're awake is a creation of the experience, of the stimuli coming into the brain, and the brain somehow, which we still don't know how exactly, it manufactures this world. What is actually outside, nobody really knows. How would you know? Even if through microscopes, telescopes, these things are just extensions of our senses, that's all. It's still within the realm of our senses. Anything that is coming through our senses is filtered through the mind, through the brain. The brain puts the stimuli together and generates this world that we see on the outside. It's really strange to think about this. And what's even more interesting is that when we go to sleep at nighttime, this world disappears. We actually move into a different world. That is the REM world, rapid eye movement. Now, if somebody shakes us up, sometimes people who are dreaming, you shake them, they're still in that dream world. They're not able to come out of that unless they are like the more stimuli is given, and then the brain has to change. And but it's incredible what goes on. It's incredible. The analysis of sleep has been done by so many people, and still it's a mystery. I mean, there's a whole area of sleep medicine. I actually have a 3,000-page book on sleep medicine, believe it or not. Amazing stuff is out there. And this is why angel wing programming is so fantastic. It is so open. It's given me a tremendous opportunity in my life to be able to examine all these things, from the medical to the psychological to the philosophical to the religious to the meditation. Nothing is left out, because we're looking at the human condition, human upliftment, the mysteries of life. And we're doing it on the same platform, doing it together, thinking together, contemplating together. So the beauty of reflection is what my subject is here. The mystery of life. To reflect, to question, to doubt, the method of doubt, which Descartes started out with. Questioning, trying to probe, trying to understand. What does it do to us? It is of great benefit. And I've had a couple of people in my own individualized program, the EP program, in the last several years, had many people, in fact. Some of them have gone into some of this philosophical reflection and dialogue. And it's amazing what can happen out of it. You begin to awaken intellectual power by philosophy, which the masses don't do. And the reason is because the philosophical writings are too dense. There's all kinds of technical lingo, like emergence theory, like supervenience, these things you've never heard before, I'm sure. I'd be surprised if anybody ever heard this word supervenience, to supervene. What does that mean exactly? The hard problem of consciousness, the soft problem of consciousness. To even understand this terminology, the masses don't know. And if they start reading it, they say they want to take the book and put it into the fireplace as quickly as possible. If you start reading something like Being and Time by Heidegger, he's one of the big philosophers. If you read the first paragraph, first page, you'll say, you try to probe that thing, try to understand it. You say, now this book definitely belongs in the fireplace. Because this is so ridiculously complicated to even understand one page. It can take 3 or 4 months. But that doesn't mean it belongs in the fireplace. It requires background. That's why they teach all these things in different classes and all that. But so the general public is cut off. Part of the reason I'm presenting it this way is to awaken the interest in this. Is to question these amazing ideas, because there are significant developments in psychology, neuroscience, philosophy, many areas on all of these questions. Even things like from physics and theoretical physics, like space. We see this space outside, right? But in ancient India, the meditators in ancient India talked about something called conscious space. Think about this. There's a name for that in Sanskrit. It's called Chidakash. Chit plus Akash. Chit means consciousness. It's the consciousness, conscious space, different kind of space than this space. And in a trance state, in a highly meditative state, they can perceive that. But what the heck is that? What is that thing? What is that? It's a mystery. So there are those, particularly in the Eastern traditions, that have taken an internal journey, subjectively, through meditation, to discover who am I. And in the Western traditions, I'm not talking about the Western religions, I'm talking about the Western scientific tradition, the search is external. More and more scientific development, more and more intellectual philosophy, Western philosophy. The religious traditions, the Abrahamic traditions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, are based on faith. They're based on revelation. That there's a prophet, there's a teacher, there's a someone who has come, whether it is a savior or like Jesus or the prophets of the Old Testament or or Muhammad and all the other people that have come after him. That there's a medium, there's an individual who has come, or some groups of people that have come that are revealing God's mind. This is revelation-based theology, revelation-based salvation. So again, very different. It's a different subject altogether. I'm just giving you just a snapshot today on all of these subjects. In Eastern tradition, the ancient Vedic tradition, how did it begin? It began by people simply asking one question: who am I? There's three questions: who am I? What is the cause of this world? What is the nature of this world? So how are you going to answer this question? So they said, let's go into the mountains. That's why in the Himalayas you've got all this, all the spirituality, in the Indian spirituality. It began there. It's a meditative exploratory tradition. And then they went into the depth of their own inner consciousness. It's not easy to do. They went into the caves. And this is where all the different yoga came from. It came from there because they were experimenting with breath, experimenting with stabilizing the mind. What happens if our mind becomes still? Let's still the mind. How do we do that? Because when you start meditating what? You're trying to answer the question, who am I? The first thing that you'll be faced with is the whole realm of thoughts and emotions and memories. The content of psychological consciousness. You'll be faced with that. They were faced with it thousands of years back, just like we're faced with it now. What they said is, this is there. Is there something beyond this? This is the content of my mind. Who am I? Am I all of this? Or am I something still different from this? That's amazing. So this is a subjective, introspective, internal journey beyond the mind, using the mind itself. This is how what we call Hinduism. It began like this. It's actually it's not really. This word is a false word. It's not an ism. There's no word like Hindu in any of this is a word given by the British because they couldn't pronounce the word Sindhu, which is the name of a river. It's just a whole different. There's no ism. There's no one theory. This is all experimentation only, and there were no temples or anything like that at that time. This is just pure experimentation, and from that, all kinds of truth began to dawn in their minds of these meditators. They're called the rishis. R-I-S-H-I. Amazing. It's very, very interesting. So to look at the mystery of life, the historical aspect from all of these different traditions, including the traditions in science, the scientific method even, the methodology of science, the psychological sciences and domains, and then all the spiritual traditions, religious traditions, meditative vast ocean. But it all comes down to one basic question, which is actually has three parts. That one question, who am I? When you ask the question, who am I? You're automatically going to ask, what is my relationship to this world? And what is my essential nature? Is the fluctuation of the mind, is that really me? Or am I something quite different from it? Am I the observer of the mind? So the tradition of Vedanta, the word Vedanta in Indian tradition, what does that mean? Veda means to know, knowledge. It's knowledge. Anta means it's the point where knowledge that is known through the senses, it ends there. And that dimension beyond the senses opens up. Very mystical, very mysterious what that is. You see, so they use a language for that. But again, these become ideas in our mind. So when we are questioning through analysis, our intellectual strength will open up further using reason, using logic, using a very systematic way to try to come to the truth. It has its power behind it. So these are just a snapshot, like a broad brush of many different ideas. Very, very interesting. Each one of them you could spend lifetimes on. Get multiple degrees in theology or philosophy or in neuroscience, and all the different experiments that are done now also. And then, of course, the question of artificial intelligence, big question. Can the AI reach a stage like human beings where you can't tell the difference between the two? Can the artificial intelligence reach a point where you will not be able to tell the difference between a living human being and an AI that looks exactly like a human being and acts and thinks, and you just cannot tell the difference at all? Can that happen? It might. It's possible. It might. It's very possible. In fact, the simulation hypothesis is there too. That just like when we go in the park and we see the outside world, at some point, computer technology would advance to such an extent where you enter into some kind of a theater, not like the theaters we have, and you cannot tell the difference between the actual outside world and what is being projected inside that AI-generated theater. You can't tell the difference at all. You wouldn't know. And that's called the simulation hypothesis. There's a book actually called Simulation Hypothesis. Amazing things are there. So this is like a little overview. We can keep talking a lot about it. This is very, very interesting. And I just want to open it up at this point for comments, questions, anything you want. And we'll be doing this next week also. And I may just actually set up a time on Thursday evenings to do it, because Thursday evening is open for me. That might be just a time to do this at 7 o'clock and really explore these philosophical areas just an hour at a time. I think if people want to do that, I'd be happy to do that. But anyway, I'll open it up here now for any comments, questions, anything you want to say. Okay, welcome to the Angel Wing LLC. Today is the 17th of April, 2024. This is our part number 2 presentation and exploration on the mystery of life. I want to put a disclaimer here first before I get into this entire presentation, which will last about a half an hour or so. The disclaimer is that the ideas being presented are exploratory in nature. They are my own contemplations over so many years. Even though this is on the Angel Wing platform, Angel Wing is centered around 3 guiding principles: self-mastery, personal transformation, human upliftment. Many of the ideas that I'm presenting here are my own reflections on this, so please keep that in mind, that it's not necessarily the perspective of Angel Wing. I mean, it could be as an organization. It's just my own reflections on this as a participant and presenter. And you are invited to have your own perspective on all of these questions about life and spirituality, meditation, religious ideas, philosophical ideas, so many things. Anyway, that's my disclaimer. Now, having said that, I want to continue from last week. Last week, I somewhat gave a cursory, like an overview of many different areas and possible questions for contemplation, as well as trying to understand the mysteries of consciousness, as well as many other related ideas, just to kind of give us initial thoughts on this. Today, we're going to go further to probe into the question of introspection. There's multiple questions, because remember, there's 3 basic questions. One question is, who am I? Where did I come from? Who am I? Etc. This is one basic question. The second question is, what is the nature of this outside world? What is this outside world, and how can we understand it? And the third question is there a cause of all causes? from where this entire creation has come about, including all of us. These are three fundamental human questions. Now, the first question about who am I, what am I, this is a very interesting one, because how do we go about answering this question? First of all, let's break it down systematically and carefully. We as human beings, historically and in the present, have the capacity to ask through curiosity these types of questions. Who am I? What am I? Where did I come from? Etc. So such questioning ability is within us. That is curiosity. In the Sanskrit language, that is called jignasa. So it means curiosity. We have probing curiosity. Other animals do not have that kind of curiosity, not that level. Probably because they don't have that evolved brain like what we do. But our brain is much more evolved, much more developed, with an estimated 82 billion neurons in the human brain. It's a staggering number. So we have this amazing capacity, to ask questions, to reflect on our experiences. So there's many ways to go about trying to discover truth. Now, what does that word mean? What is truth? If I ask the question, who am I? What am I? What am I really looking for? I'm looking for the discovery. I'm trying to discover what is real, what is existing, what the substance, the reality of it is. This is what the scientific endeavor, psychological and philosophical inquiry are all about. It is an attempt to discover truth. For example, when we look under a microscope, we begin to see all the different cells and cell structures and etc. microscopically. It is a discovery of what exists. So existence is existence is an aspect of truth, or it is a type of truth. Truth meaning that which is real, as opposed to the word falsity, that which is not real. For example, if I say that I am 10 feet tall, I can say that verbally, but I'm not actually 10 feet tall. I'm 5'10". This body is 5'10". That is the metric truth. That is the measurement truth. It's a mathematical truth. There's a height and weight and size, etc. So the word true versus the word false. We can start just really basic like this. True versus false. So what is true? If you look at something like the development of mathematics, when we say 1 plus 1 equals 2, where does that come from? Even the number 1, the natural number 1, then 2, 3, natural numbers based on counting objects. This is all part of our innate intellectual ability. Now that raises another question. You'll see how this jumps from one question to another. If I'm going to say that I have innate ability or innate prowess, innate truth, that truth is innate inside of me, that means it's inborn. For example, when we teach a child that 2 plus 2 equals 4, and they understand that truth, where did they understand it from? We can try to teach it, show some apples and some blocks and this and that, and say this is 1, this is 2. Even to understand that this is 1, and then 2, we give language, and then there's the representation of the language. Then the brain of the child says that this is the concept of a number comes into the child. Is the concept of a number on the outside, or is it already inside that is awakened by the teacher on the outside? See these questions. Even this is not resolved even today after so many thousands of years of analysis. Many theories are there, deep theories, on where and how an individual understands 2 plus 2 equals 4. Nobody really knows the answer to this question. How interesting this is. Why is it that I understand? I have the feeling, I have the sense that I internally understand the concept of the number 4 in relation to 2 plus 2. That when you add, I understand addition. I understand two different, like 2 apples plus 2 apples. I have 2 apples in one basket, 2 apples in another basket, and that equals 4. You show it physically to children, they get it. Why do they get it? Why is it that animals don't get it? See, these are basic questions about what is true versus what is false. And these types of questions are the very beginning of even asking, ultimately, who am I? What is the nature of this world? Where did this world come from? Is there a creator of the world? All of this hinges on basic day-to-day experience. Where does that come from? It hinges on that. And one has to go very carefully, very slowly, with a lot of patience. Philosophical inquiry or inquiry into these questions, it necessitates absolutely patience, an open mind, and following sequentially the different ideas presented by different theorists, philosophers. I mean, that's why they have these degrees, right? These big degrees are there. Now, obviously, our goal here is not to provide some kind of a doctoral degree in psychology or anything like that. But we can still gain the same wisdom in a little different way, in a more straightforward manner. Rather than going to 10 years of school, maybe we can find another way to go about it. And that's what we're trying to do. And why are we even trying to do this? Why even select a subject like the mystery of life? Why is that? Because many reasons. One of the points from angel wing point of view is that will lead to greater intellectual strength, greater self-mastery. It takes our energies and our mind to a new level. Like this simple question, if I'm asking you, how is it that we understand? How does anybody understand that 2 plus 2 equals 4? What is the concept of the number 4 or number 5 or any number? What is that? It's a representation of something that exists in reality. But just the apples themselves, if you have, 4 apples and nobody's taught let's say the children any mathematics, are they going to figure out by themselves that 2 plus 2 equals 4? Are they going to do that? Probably not. Right? Not that easily. It may have taken human beings many generations to realize or to recognize the mathematical truth that is in front of us. So is mathematics already inbuilt within us, within our mental consciousness, spiritual consciousness? Otherwise, how can I understand it? Why doesn't a dog understand 2 plus 2 equals 4? Why do we understand that? What is involved in that? Lot of theories. You'll be surprised how many books there are written on this question. Hundreds and thousands of research articles, and nobody has come to any final conclusion on this. Just on this one question, why 2 plus 2 equals 4 and why we understand that. Because we're giving language, there's numerology, there's counting, there's understanding, there's brain science, there is a recognition of the concept of the number. There's so much involved in that. Where does it come from? Amazing. And then if someone has a learning disability, a learning disorder, they can't get it. Maybe there's a trauma, maybe there's a genetic effect, maybe there is some type of a disorder. Maybe the brain isn't developed properly enough to understand. The mechanism isn't there. The brain mechanism is somehow... But even if the brain mechanism is absolutely fine, why is it that we understand, the sense that I understand mathematics, basic arithmetic, don't worry about anything else even, basic arithmetic. How do I understand this idea? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Why do I understand it? I know that I do. I understand. I have my own internal understanding of it. But does that mean that that internal knowledge was already there? This is what Socrates believed. Now I'm going to start talking about some of the historical ideas. Socrates believed and taught this way. There's in fact a very famous book called the Meno. Meno is actually a servant who doesn't know mathematics. And Socrates talks to him through a series. He asks him lots of questions, and all kinds of mathematical truths come out of Meno. He's an illiterate servant in Greece. It's called. You can look it up. It's just type in Meno in the Google. You'll find all kinds of information. Amazing. So Socrates' position is that this is all inbuilt. The mathematics didn't come from Socrates. In the way he didn't teach him the theorems or certain truths, mathematical Pythagorean theorem. All that thing came out of Meno by asking questions indirectly. And he would answer them. He would ask questions, he would answer. And from that, the truths began to open up. So the philosophical position is that truth is already inbuilt inside of us. It just needs to be opened. It needs to be awakened. It needs to be recognized. Whether it is mathematical truth, scientific truth, personal truth, any kind of relative truth, or truth with a capital T. Again, there's a distinction that way that is made and in the history of human thought. What is relative truth? And what is absolute truth? Relative truth is what we experience in the world. Right now, we can say it is evening time right now. So it's not evening time all the time. If it was just 70 degrees, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 years, that would be something like an unchanging truth. So there's relative truth, truth that changes based on experience, etc. And then there could be something like absolute truth, that 2 plus 2 always equals 4. It can never equal anything other than 4. That can be considered to be an absolute mathematical truth. That mathematics exists in an absolute level, somewhere in some dimension, maybe within us or beyond us or somewhere, and then it is reflected in the material world. Now you see how tenuous this becomes. I just made that statement. My mind will start spinning listening to this. I'm trying to go really slowly. Where is the truth that 2 plus 2 equals 4? Where is that in nature? If there was no mathematics book, there was nobody there to teach us this or to show us that, could we discover it ourselves? Would we even have the concept in our mind? See how interesting this is. You see, because when we ask the question, who am I? This type of probing inquiry has been done for thousands of years to try to discover what am I. And then you'll notice, through discoveries like mathematical truths, they are transmitted to the next generation. Why do we send kids to school? Somebody sitting in kindergarten, there's a curriculum for kindergarten. There's a curriculum for preschool. Then there's a curriculum for kindergarten. Then there's a curriculum for first grade. Based on the development of the brain, the mind, the ability to grasp certain ideas. But we could say that all that's really happening is that the truths that are inbuilt inside children are simply awakened by the teacher. The teacher doesn't teach anything. In fact, Socrates would say the teacher cannot teach anything. You can never teach anybody anything, in fact. This is a position, more technically later on, the philosopher Berkeley talked about this as subjective idealism. We'll talk about that in the future sometime, if we do a whole series on philosophy sometime. Amazing. That's a much more technical way to, and more advanced understanding of this, but I won't go into that right now. Just imagine that the learning process for children, adolescents, anybody, cannot be caused by the teacher. Do you accept this idea? You may not. You don't have to accept this idea. But this is one position about learning, one idea, that nobody can teach us anything. They can simply open the door for us to look, simply try to grasp and see what is there ourselves. No teacher can make us learn or create learning. They can introduce the concepts, explain the ideas that they have understood, and the hope is that there's listening and attention in the mind of the student, and the student says, "Oh, I get it." Well, what is that? I mean, what exactly is that? Why is it that a person says, "I understand that, I get that," and you feel, there's that aha moment. I see that. I remember teaching research and statistics at Delaware State University many years back. I taught all the classes in the master's level program there. Very interesting. And when I taught research and statistics, I could teach the concepts, but I wanted to see, are the students really getting it? And you could tell that, by asking them in the questions they had, only about 10, 15, 20% really actually got the actual real idea. And I wanted to make sure everybody got it. So I would spend extra time and really spend some time with them. But what is that? What is it that happens within where a person says, "Oh, I understand that. I get that. I see that"? Well, what did you see? What did you get? If the theorem is there in algebra, y equals mx plus b, the point slope equation, which probably we all remember from school, and you really get it. You say, "I understand this. I understand the concept, what is being said. I understand." There's an understanding intrinsically. Where did that understanding come from? Did it come from the equations? Did it come from the graphs? Those things, or the teacher, or the PowerPoints, or whatever? Where did it come from? Did it come from something outside? Or was the outside, the textbook, the teacher, the graphs, the exercises, was that all done to simply awaken the truth of algebraic equations that is already with us? What an idea this is. What an idea. And if you observe carefully, one position in philosophy says, yes, this is what is happening. The learning is not happening from outside. The learning is happening inside of you. It's actually not even happening inside of you. The knowledge is already there. It's simply awakened. Everything is within us. Every kind of knowledge. But our realization of it is minuscule. For example, Einstein, doing research in theoretical physics and eventually deriving the equation E equals mc squared. Why is it that he came up with this general theory of relativity and the special theory and all these theories and very tricky stuff, right? Why other people didn't think of that before him? Now, after he thought about it, published it, everybody in the world has heard of Albert Einstein. Mostly everybody. Most people, I would say. But how many people understand Albert Einstein? They say that less than 10 people in the world can actually understand the full derivation of E equals mc squared. Every school kid knows that equation and seen the picture of Albert Einstein. But only 10 people in the world know what that thing really is. Absolutely amazing. But the question for us is, where did he get it from? And then why is it that what he wrote, it is possible for others to understand that? And then from there, all this nuclear power, and there's so much application came out of it afterwards. But how is it that if one individual has understood, has awakened some truth, some new perspective in reality, that can be transmitted and other people can understand it too? Why is that? Again, there are two terms here. This takes us to Immanuel Kant. So he introduced two terms on this point. And one is called a priori, and the other is called a posteriori. Don't worry about these right now. But all that simply means is the inbuilt wisdom, knowledge, truth is a priori, before experience. It's already there. And a posteriori means someone has taught it, has presented it, and then that knowledge has come from the outside and we get it. But the fact that we get it, this is my commentary, I would say the fact that we get it, that means at some level it has to be already inbuilt. Otherwise we would never get it. But that's a tenuous question. It's a difficult question to answer. So the knowledge that is coming from outside, like for example, if I sit inside a class that teaches how to use Office 2000, Microsoft Word, let's say, Office 2020 or whatever the version is. If I don't know how to use these programs, someone is teaching me, it's coming from outside. Yes, so that's coming from outside. So it's really a combination of both. There is knowledge, there's information coming from outside, but then my use of it, my understanding of it has to be from my own only. It can't be from, I cannot understand for somebody else. And somebody else cannot understand for me. If I'm sitting in a class with 20 people trying to learn Microsoft Office, the 19 people who may get it, they cannot get it for me. I have to get it myself. I can ask them questions and whatnot, but that process of internalizing and really understanding and using that, I have to do that. I cannot expect others to do it for me. Maybe they can do my work for me, but it doesn't mean that I got the program. I know how to do that. I don't then. And this is true in general with all experiences in life. All experiences are your own. And this is the question of ontology. I don't want to throw too many technical terms right here. Study of being, existence itself. I exist. Like Descartes famously stated, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I exist. I have my experience in life. That's why I exist. So our experiences of truth, our experiences of the information we're getting from the outside, and then the question of who am I is all connected together. That question of who am I has thousands of questions like this. But it goes systematically. It goes systematically to discover who am I. Am I simply this information and knowledge that I've gained, the functional knowledge? Then people have divided it this way, functional, interactional knowledge. It's been divided that way. And then that wisdom that comes, that is not based on the senses, that is known through meditation, through prayer, through higher consciousness, through revelation, through the grace of God. Those types of questions are also posed. And then the experience that comes from there. And I just want to wrap it up in just a couple of minutes here. Then open it up for some discussion and conversation. This is a great mystery. The study of philosophy, it simply begins with questioning. Philosophy means love of wisdom, and it is a search for truth. Using the intellect, using intellection and analysis, reflection, inquiry, meaning our intellectual ability. That is the endeavor in professional philosophy and amateur philosophy. And then the other disciplines, other areas of study, etc., are all offshoots of philosophy. Every area in the universities is an offshoot of philosophy. So that is it is using the intellectual power. So now, what is the practicality of this? Why do this? Why engage in this type of presentation or exercise? What is the benefit for anybody? Many benefits are there, many. Contemplating, dialoguing, discussing, reading these ideas thinking about them, probing them, what does it do? It increases the intellectual muscle, just like it increases the strength of the intellectual muscle. Just like we go to the gym and we exercise our muscles, we're actually burning energy when we're doing that. We are tearing the muscles. And then when we're resting, they rebuild again and they get stronger. Similarly, the exercise of philosophical reflection is a type of exercise. It is going to use energy. It is going to be tiring a little bit. You cannot do too much of it all at one time. It's too much. It's too much because we have never used our mind to reflect philosophically. Most people have never done so. Very few have. And then if they think about doing so, they say, this is too much for me, it's getting too deep, it's this and that, I would rather drink my beer, watch TV, and go to sleep. That's an animal life. If the person is doing that, that's less than animal, not even animal level. Animals don't even drink beer and all that. Human beings are not even at the animal level. If they were, that would be a good thing. They're less than animal level. So human being is not at the human level. This is just my commentary. Human being is at less than animal level. We kill each other, hurt each other, put terrible substances inside our bodies, damage our bodies, others. What is this? Animals don't do that. So we cannot even equate our human species even at the animal level. There's less than animal, unfortunately. But when we recognize our potentiality, when we begin to reflect, we can rise to above human level. Human level is good, but above human level is something much beyond. That capacity is there. But if we don't use our bigger brain, our intelligence for that, then eat, drink, and be merry. That's all. What else is left? And die one day. That's the end of it. But those who are philosophically inclined, those who are wanting to probe into this, what is the benefit? We have a much greater purview of the human condition. In my mind, and these are just my thoughts I'm sharing with you. There's no criticism of anybody. I'm not saying that every single person has to start reading Immanuel Kant and all that. Don't say that. It would be nice if that happened, but that's not something that is reasonable. What is reasonable is to start the process slowly, gradually, carefully, lovingly. And then from there, does wisdom actually come about? What is the wisdom in what we've talked about today? The one thing that pops up in my mind is that, my goodness, is it really true that I have everything inside of me? My God, what an idea that is. Is that actually true? And if that's the case, then how do I access it? How do I open it? But see, this is why teachers are needed too, because they allow us to open our potentiality from inside. And we just are just talking about like learning and truth and educational aspect. But this is true with beauty. It's true with music. It's true with all experiences, going on nice trips, going to the nature. You don't have to have a lot of intellectual analysis of that. You can. We can. It's an experience. It's beauty. But what is beautiful? Why do we have that experience? Where does it come from? How does the brain and the mind work? This is called aesthetics. In a more broader sense, it is called axiology. Ethics, morality, and aesthetics go together. We'll talk about that some other time. We haven't even touched those subjects yet. To take time for inquiry, carefully, slowly. See, look at the simple questions. Why do I understand? How do I understand anything that it makes sense to me that 2 + 2 = 4? Where does that understanding come from? I feel it. I see it. I have a vision of that. I can understand that. Then there are those philosophers who said you only understand that because God is present inside of you. God's mind is present. It's connected to your mind. He gives you that understanding. This is a theological answer. There's all kinds of answers to this. There's also neurological answers. That the brain is wired in such a way, with the complexity of the neuronal dendritic trees, etc., that produces our experience that, I get this thing. Our identity and our intelligence and our understanding comes that way. because of the brain is generating it itself. That's the materialistic theory. And then there are big volumes written on these theories. And nobody has a final answer. And again, answer in the sense, is it just an intellectual answer? Or is there something more? And then we would have to then probe further into our subjective experience. We'll talk about it some other time, and that is introspection. There's a whole bunch of philosophical questions. I'm going to list some of these for you. See what you think. Don't try to answer them right now. Just so you can hear what some of the questions look like. What is introspection as part of epistemology? What is the problem of other minds? What is the argument by analogy? What is solipsism? What is experimental and empirical measures of behavior in the brain? What is introspective research? What is the similarity and difference between ontology, epistemology, and consciousness? What is meant by the nexus of experience? What is the theory of mind? Is consciousness actually impossible to intellectually understand? And these questions go on. There's thousands of questions like this. If you were to take any one of those questions, you could spend years trying to study them. And of course, wisdom does come out of it. There are flashes of truth. Truth flashes in inquiry, particularly in philosophical study. And it is a tremendous way to make your mind really strong, and then let it relax and let it come back to it again. And then eventually, one may also realize that philosophical inquiry is limited. One needs to meditate. One needs to pray. There's also those ideas that this only takes you so far. As great as all this is, it only takes a person to a certain boundary, after which you have to have faith in God and faith in higher ideas and pray and things like that. Intellect only goes so far. There's also such a notion. All right, it's 7:36. I could keep talking about this. I don't want to do that. I want to give you a chance to reflect on these ideas, and then we'll continue in this series. Maybe we'll do it on Thursday evenings. I don't know if people are interested in this. I do want to have some time to make some recordings on this. I'm happy to make them just independently and just put them on the website and all that. But if people want to listen to it live, just let me know, and I'd be happy to schedule a time to do that. Maybe Thursday evening or some other time, or do it maybe once a month or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. So I'll hit the stop recording here for now, and then we'll open it up for questions and comments and further probing.